Nā, ko tētahi o ngā mātanga e āwhina na i te hunga kua raru a Hinengaro, a tīnana no hoki i te rū whenua i o tautahi, ko tākuta Ramon Pink. Kei te taha o Jody Ihaka ia, I nāia nei.
Kia ora, Doctor. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell me, what is your role throughout this entire tragedy?
My formal role, Jody, is Medical Officer of Health for Canterbury, which is just a long term, which reflects that I have to be involved closely with civil defence and with health and with police and fire. And so there are some legislation things that require me to be involved with that. And so that means that from the moment that the quake struck, a civil defence emergency was called, and by virtue of that, I got involved in the response from that day.
Without giving too much detail, can you share with me the story that you told me before about what you had to do at the morgue?
Yes, as you know, there's been a significant loss of life from local people and overseas, and there is an internationally accepted process of identifying those who have died in this tragedy. And because of the nature of the way they've died, it's made identification very difficult for them. And as such, it's meant that we have had set up out at Burnham Military Camp a place where the identification process is happening. And part of my role was involved talking with those people in charge of that process called the Disaster Victim Identification Team, and going out and ensuring that the facility out there was appropriate. There was already those who had been retrieved from the CBD by the urban search and rescue teams had already made their way out to that facility, and the identification process was beginning. And I think for me it reflected the cutting edge of what we have seen here in the city.
How do you cope with that?
I think that there are a large number of people who have seen lots of things in their lifetime, and they're working really, really hard. I've seen lots of things in my lifetime. You accept it as part of your job, but I think inside you've got to go away and deal with it maybe a little further up the track. That's the only answer I can give you. I think I'm still processing is basically it.
Head back home to your iwi?
I think that sounds like a fairly good option, Jody. I think Te Aupori would be a nice place just to sort of settle down and just sort of, yes, quietly contemplate what has been a significant disaster.
Absolutely, I'll come with you. Just quickly, tell me now, what are the public health risks at the moment?
The biggest thing that we have to do is minimise the risk of the spread of communicable disease. And obviously everyone's talking about, gastroenteritis, vomiting and runny tickle, basically. And the important thing to do that is just the basics. It's not sexy. It's, trying to, making sure you wash your hands, and if you've got running water and soap, that's the best thing. Otherwise, I think that the city's been spreading out those alcohol gels and doing that. That's really, really important. It's really important that you do that before you make your food. It's really important that you boil your water if you can. If you can't boil your water, and I'm very aware that for some people, some whānau, they haven't got running water.
Sure.
So even though you're getting water from the tanks that are coming in, you either boil it if you've got some power. If you don't have power, they are making available bleach, household bleach, and you either put a teaspoon into 10 litres, and I trust that people can estimate that. So the important things are making sure your water is clean, making sure that your hands are clean, and hopefully making sure that the facilities that are trying to be dispersed around the city to go to the toilet are getting to you. That's all there is. That's a really important message. Trying to manage the risk of the spread of disease.
Excellent, very good advice, and thank you very much for your time. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you, Jody.